Hello and welcome, California. We are so excited for our live presentation on how a nonprofit becomes certified. My name is Kyla Aquino Irving, and I'm on the Our Promise team. And today we've got another member of the Our Promise team, Benjamin Aceto, who's the manager. Ben, tell us a little bit about what it is you do.
So essentially, most of my main jobs are helping out nonprofits. Actually, one of my big tasks that I have throughout the year is something that we're going to be covering in depth today, nonprofit certification. So that's one of the big jobs I do. And then, of course, we do donor services. There's any number of tasks that we have providing support for folks, fielding nonprofit questions. Essentially, if anything needs to be done, I help get it done with the Our Promise campaign.
Awesome. So I wanted to know if you had, or what it is it about the Our Promise program that you've experienced that inspires you?
What I think about is when it comes down to the very base level of what Our Promise is simply helping people. I mean, of course, there's so many different causes we can have. We can help people in human services. We can help animals. We can connect folks who have had trauma with animals, any number of different things. But at the end of the day, something that I've always been passionate about is just helping people. And so Our Promise, no matter what I do, helps me to do that. Every effort that I have with Our Promise is furthering helping people, providing assistance for our communities, and making our state stronger for everybody.
That's awesome. I'm so excited to be a part of that too. So without further ado, let's just get into it. How do nonprofits get started?
A lot of you folks may just be wondering what even is Our Promise, or I don't exactly understand how Our Promise works. So I'd love to give you just a brief overview so that we can figure out how your role fits in to the Our Promise campaign. So clearly this information is mostly for nonprofits, but there are some state employees that this might be pertinent to as well, especially if you have been wondering about starting a nonprofit. It's actually a lot easier than you may think. Or if you're involved with a nonprofit and you'd like to get them into that booklet that you see on your case or on your office desk every year. So the Our Promise campaign is the statewide effort of government employees being able to provide a monthly donation to the nonprofit of their choice. So it's a very broad definition. And so where you fit into it as a nonprofit specifically is that you would be able to receive donations from state employees every month. And how they would find out about you, one of the ways that we offer this service, and actually that's one of the things I was mentioning, is the certification process. So I'm going to talk with you about the time frame of, when you should be signing up for this process, when you can expect to see activity with the Our Promise campaign. We're going to talk even about payouts if you do receive donations and things like that, and then some specifics on schedules like that. So the certification process, believe it or not, doesn't begin at campaign season, which is between September and October of every year. Actually, the certification process begins in January and February. So part of one of the services that Our Promise offers, not only for the state employees, but for the nonprofits, is that we do our own personal certification process. And that's actually what I work on starting in March of every single year. So between January and February, you will see a link that pops up on the Our Promise website that says, sign your nonprofit up to be certified with the Our Promise campaign. Now, I will say that if you do enter an application, that is not a guarantee that your nonprofit will be certified. But, I mean, like they say, you don't know until you try. So that's when I would say you as a nonprofit, go and check the Our Promise website, and you will find that there actually is a banner that we post where you can click that and enter your information to become certified. So you may be wondering, what does that mean if I am a certified nonprofit? Because this is where people get a bit iffy about the details. What that means is that you will be listed in what we call the nonprofit guide. So the nonprofit guide is a list of every certified nonprofit every year that essentially tells state employees, you can donate to the nonprofit of your choice, but all of these nonprofits here that are certified, we've verified them, they're good with the IRS, there's no shady business. Essentially, it marks you as a valid source to provide assistance, in your communities as a nonprofit. Otherwise, because unfortunately, there is scams out there. There are nonprofits that are actually nonprofits, and you may be, as a state employee, you may be the victim of one of those scams if you aren't certain about the background of that nonprofit. So that's where we come in. So between January and February, we accept applications from all nonprofits across California and even across America. So there's a couple of bits of information that you would need when you sign up with the Our Promise campaign between January and February. So of course, you would need your nonprofit's tax ID, and hopefully this is all information you have operating in a nonprofit. You would need your nonprofit's tax ID, your address. You would need to provide us the cause. What is your cause? Where do you support and offer assistance to the citizens of California and of America? You would need to provide, that's actually essentially it. Pretty much, it's really not a very long process. It takes between 5 to 10 minutes to fill out. And so then when you do, at the end of that process, I take all those applications, and what I do on my side is I verify your nonprofit status with the IRS, who provided you with your nonprofit status in the first place, with the Department of Justice, who we have to operate with to run the campaign, and with GuideStar. So GuideStar is a really useful resource, and we verify with them because they also check all the information on each nonprofit as well. So those are the three sources that we check to make sure that your nonprofit is operating, smoothly, transparently, providing information, and that you are a verifiable source for folks to donate to. So that happens between March and July. Believe me, it's a very long process. There's a lot of things that we have to double check. Of course, we do send out, for folks that do pop up as not being able to be certified at that time, we do provide a window of time for you to correct your status, whether that's with the IRS or the Department of Justice. And then if you can make that correction in the allotted time, then you can be accepted in. But otherwise, if you are a certified nonprofit, all you would need to do is enter that application in the very beginning. Everything else is taken care of up until campaign season. So then if you are a verified nonprofit, you could be listed in the nonprofit guide. Another thing you would receive as a certified nonprofit is a priority registration for any events that may occur. So of course, in the times that we're in now, we can't really do any physical events, but in the past and hopefully in the future, when we do have outside events or nonprofit events at different state departments, if you are a certified nonprofit, you would be first in line for us if we are reaching out to different nonprofits. Now, that's not to say that you'll be going to each and every single event, but if you weren't certified, you would be much further down the list of nonprofits that we would reach out to than if you were certified. So it really would benefit only you to be certified. If you can fill out this 5-10 minute application in the beginning of the year, then you can get on those lists. You can have that priority registration. It really is just a win-win. And the best thing is there's no upfront fees when you're paying or when you're applying your nonprofit. You don't have to write down a credit card number. You don't have to do anything like that. And that's something that we'll be discussing a little bit further into this process. But what I'd like to do is, because I keep on saying January and February, you can say, well, I might forget by that time. Like, what if I want to receive information before we lead up to that process, before January and February of every year? So I want to show you on the Our Promise website where you can go to make sure we get your contact information to keep you in the loop. So I want to start sharing my screen. So first things first, you would want to go to the Our Promise website, which is ourpromiseca.org. Now, if you haven't done this already, I would highly recommend it. It provides you so much information. Any questions that you may have, you can get answered on here. It also has all of our contact information too. So if you need to find out something about a check you may have gotten from Our Promise, head to ourpromiseca.org. We have all our information so you can reach out. So from this screen right here, this is the main page. It's going to show you a number of different things. You can go to the top. In the top, we have this submenu called For Nonprofits. Just go ahead and click that link, For Nonprofits, and it'll take you to the section where all of this information is pertinent to you, the nonprofit interested in participating. So you can track your payout information. You can check your nonprofit status with the Department of Justice. That takes you to their website to check your status. But the link you would want to click is right here. It says sign up to receive more information about Our Promise certification. So this is essentially signing up to find out how to sign up. Because we don't have that application open all year, we actually are stipulated by the Our Promise campaign that we can only have that window open between January and February of every year. So throughout the rest of the year, all you'd have to do is go to this page, fill out your nonprofit information, and then as we start to get closer to the application date, I will start to send out emails to everybody I receive an email from on this menu here. And I'll say, hey, Our Promise is coming up. Get your ducks in a row. So it's really easy. First name, last name, email, all of that. Talks about your areas of service. And of course, you just have to do the CAPTCHA, make sure you're not a robot. And that's it. It's that simple. Then you just relax and you wait until January comes around, and then you would fill out the application information from there. So the one thing that people are wondering, they say, well, Ben, I signed up for Our Promise in 2017. Why am I not on the list anymore? The reason that is because every single year you have to reapply. So if you were on the list for the 2017 campaign or 18 or even last year's campaign, we're so happy we could have you on the list, but to be able to be on next year's list, you do have to reapply. The reason for that is because with the Department of Justice, you have to, hopefully this is something you're aware of, you do have to reapply your status with the Department of Justice. Every year you do have to send them information. There are some folks that don't have to do that, but we still need to reapply and check them every year because there could be any number of situations. You could have, you could be under investigation with the IRS and they may suspend your status, or there could be some sort of fraud that was detected. And hopefully this hasn't happened, but your nonprofit status may be dissolved. And so that's something we need to check every year, if anything, to verify our accountability, our responsibility that we're providing strong nonprofits for our state employees. So we do need to check every year to make sure that you are still operating with a good verifiable status. So just keep that in mind, that if you did certify another year, you have to reapply every year. So you want to make sure that you sign up for this this page right here to get more information as we get closer to the January, February timeline. Now, I haven't seen if there has been anything popping up in our chat or anything like that, but Kyla, do you have any questions about anything that we've discussed at the moment?
Yeah, so if a nonprofit just became established, let's say in this auspicious 2020, would it be okay if they're within a year old of a nonprofit to get certified?
As long as you get your information into this page right here, yes. Because hopefully you aren't operating as a nonprofit before you received that letter from the IRS saying that you are a nonprofit. That's not good. You got to wait until after the IRS tells you that you can do those things to do those things. But that's like I was saying, I double check with the IRS, I double check with the Department of Justice, and they would have you listed. So I would say to you nonprofits, keep in mind that the process for having you registered with the Department of Justice here in California is different than being a certified IRS status nonprofit. So what I would say is to check the Department of Justice, their website, the California Department of Justice. They do have a different process for having you listed as a current status nonprofit. It's, as far as I've heard, because I personally haven't done the process, it's fairly easy. It's pretty straightforward. You just have to fill out some paperwork. There is a small fee that the Department of Justice asks for, but technically you should not be operating as a nonprofit asking for money in California without having that status with the Department of Justice. So you can operate as a nonprofit, but if you're asking anybody for money, technical term soliciting, then that's not okay, and the Department of Justice might be sending you something. So just make sure you check the Department of Justice, make sure you check your status with them. It should be a current status or an exempt status, which many religious nonprofits are, and then you're all set, because that is something I'll be checking as well. Was that the only question that you have?
Yeah, so I also wanted to know just as a nonprofit, if what does it look like to receive the payments or how, what is the timeline for that?
That's fantastic because that's the next thing I'm going to be covering.
Perfect.
um, so yeah, the campaign timeframe, as I mentioned briefly earlier, is between September and October of every year. Now, given the current circumstances we've had for this year, we have extended the campaign this year into mid-November, but that's not something that we anticipate happening again in future campaigns. It should be always September, October, and for all of those changes that state employees make, those are all reflected by the January pay warrant of the following year. So if you are a nonprofit and you do get a designation to you, first of all, congratulations if you do. But if you do receive designations from a state employee that you are going to start receiving donations, there's a couple of things that we need to keep in mind before I tell you exactly when you would receive those funds. First off, if you have filled out an EFT authorization form with our promise, then you would be receiving your donation directly to your bank account by the next month. So we do have that month of processing, but then you would be receiving your donations monthly after that. So if you weren't aware, EFT stands for Electronic Funds Transfer. So an EFT is essentially just a debit into your account or a credit into your account, which would be your donation you're receiving every year. So I'm actually glad that we're going over this because this is something that we encourage each and every nonprofit receiving donations with our promise to do. So we actually have, I mentioned this, it's an EFT authorization form. Essentially, it provides your bank info to us so that we can send you your money directly to your bank account. And the way that you could get that online, there's actually two different ways. So from the main Our Promise website, if you go back to that For Nonprofit section, you can actually go to the nonprofit FAQs, the frequently asked questions. And when you click that, it tells you how you can receive, how you can get an authorization form. But you can also see in the related links on the right-hand side, this says download EFT form. So what you would need to do is fill out this form, provide a blank voided check. Please make sure you void it very well. You need to provide this form and that blank voided check to us. You can send that to our address, which we do have listed on the website. But that's the way that you could receive your donations every single month, no matter what the amount is. Because after we have that information in our system, we would rather get the money out to you quickly and as directly and easily as possible for you, the nonprofit. Otherwise, let's just say you're a brand new nonprofit, you've never been involved with Our Promise before, and you started getting donations. If that's the case and we don't have your bank information on file, then we will be sending a check to your address, whatever address we receive from you, as we are verifying that you can receive checks. And actually, you can see in the nonprofit frequently asked questions, how often do nonprofits get paid out? If you are receiving checks from us, you will get paid out quarterly. Now, there is a bit of a caveat to that. It used to be, and I'm very happy to say this, it used to be that you could only receive a check every quarter if the amount of the donations that you would receive exceeds $100. Now, that means that some folks that might have been receiving $60 or $80 in a single year won't see that money for some time until the end of the year. But what I'm very happy to say is that just as of a few weeks ago, we are able to send you your check quarterly if your minimum exceeds $25. So, that's a much lower threshold for you to have to reach to be able to get your donation. Because as I mentioned before, we don't want to hold on to these funds. We want to get the dollars to you. And so we're able to send those to you if your minimum exceeds $25. And again, that's if you don't have an EFT authorization form that you've sent to us. If we don't have your bank info on file, we're going to send that check. So please, as a nonprofit, to benefit you, please make sure you send that EFT authorization form to us so that we can get your donations to you every single month. And that would be the best thing for you to do. Are there any other questions on that information that you've received, Kyla?
No, yeah, we can even go down the list that I see on the frequently asked questions here if you like, unless you've got the
Well,
next.
there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is actually one of the things that is on the frequently asked questions. And this has to do with the fees. So hopefully you as a nonprofit understand that it takes fees to run services. So as I mentioned, there is no upfront fees for any nonprofit that's applying or is certified or participates in any event. You don't have to pay a dime. What does happen is if you are successful and you are able to receive donations from a state employee or any number of state employees through the Our Promise campaign, that's when fees would be incurred. So there is a 14% fee for any donations that you receive through the Our Promise campaign. Of course, because we have to run the services, we have to, when we do our check with GuideStar, we actually pay for that. There is a fee that we pay to GuideStar to have them verify all these different nonprofits. We have to pay for everything. We have to pay for the time that we take during the certification process. Of course, then there's the marketing and the promotional aspects of it during the campaign season. Those are all things that they do need to be paid for. And hopefully as a nonprofit, you are able to understand that. So what would happen is from the first payment that you would receive through the Our Promise campaign, the 14% fee is taken out of that payment. And then there are no more fees taken out from your donations throughout the rest of the year. So then you'll see that you for your first payment in the year, you will receive a smaller amount than you will throughout the rest of the year, whether you receive your checks quarterly, whether you receive electronic credits every month. So that would be something that would be reflected. And of course, if you do receive any reports about how to, about the donations you're receiving and the state employees who may be providing them, if they don't mark themselves anonymous, you'll see in those reports the fees that are being taken out, and that will be reflected there. So yeah, I would say essentially you only see any fees if you are successful with Our Promise. Otherwise, there is nothing that you're paying for this free promotion, for this free certification process for you. And we're very happy to provide it because we want to take care of our state employees, make sure that they know and they can trust where their dollars are going. And we want to take care of you as nonprofits. That's my whole goal, is to help every single nonprofit in California. So I want to see every single nonprofit put an application in between January and February of this year. Head to that website, make sure you go to 4 nonprofits, sign up to get certified, and then because that's my goal. Just this past year, we certified almost 2,000 different nonprofits, but I want to see that number go up. I want to see 5,000, 10,000 nonprofits. That's just, sorry, I'm getting a bit excited, but I want to make sure that every single nonprofit can be listed on the Our Promise website and in the nonprofit guide.
We want to make it easier for people to donate to you. So please join us.
And yeah, absolutely. We want to see you on the website. We want to see you promoted for nonprofits. We want to give you priority registration. So the way I see it, there really is no downside to being certified as a nonprofit with the Our Promise campaign, because there are almost 300,000 state employees, and oftentimes they don't even know about your nonprofit or the causes that you're helping out. Even if you live or work right next to a state office, they may not realize how you're helping your community. They do so with Our Promise. Every year, September and October, we promote you to them. So that's what I want to do for you.
Awesome.
I believe I don't have anything else that I need to cover at this time. We've gone over what the campaign is, what certification does for you as a nonprofit. We've gone over how you can get that information and when you can apply. What I would say is, I'm going to make this one clarification for folks. Even if you're a nonprofit that hasn't been certified with the Our Promise campaign, you can still receive donations. Folks would do something called a write-in, and they would write you in specifically on their pledge form for you to receive dollars through the Our Promise campaign. Of course, it makes it much easier if you're certified. There's a number that's assigned to you that they can just write in, or they can find it on the Our Promise website, since we did go digital this year. But it only benefits you to be certified. But you can still receive donations even if you haven't filled out the certification application yet. Another thing that probably pops up and does pop up sometimes is if you were certified in a nonprofit year or in a campaign year, and then you started receiving donations, if you don't certify in another year, it will not affect your donations. A lot of people think if I don't certify, I can't get my donations. That's not the case. It's simply another service we provide for state employees and for nonprofits like yourself. But if you do already have some donations coming to you and you somehow unfortunately miss that certification window, it's not going to affect your donations. You will still be receiving them from any state employees that have donated to you.
Right. All right.
Are there any other questions that anybody may have that have popped up in chat that you may be curious about?
I didn't see any in our Facebook chat, so I think we're good. Ben, such a pleasure to learn more about your world and what it is that you do,
Absolutely.
and you know, all of the ways that we are making sure our nonprofits are getting the support that they need, especially during this really tough time. I hope that people find it. I know everyone's in a difficult situation potentially, but we know that we can pull together as California to help everyone. So
absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just a final note I would say is we have so many people that are asking about nonprofits on the certification list. We want to make sure you are one of those nonprofits on the list.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, California.
All right, you take care.